Welcome, I'm Mike Bailey, and this study is Matthew chapter 7. We'll be starting in verse 1. And this study is really the focus of Jesus' teaching. He's saying, where's your focus? Where are you looking? What are you doing with your life? And as we look into this, let's listen to what God has to say to us and try to think about what the context of the people that heard it, and then what is Jesus speaking through thousands of years to us right now that we can learn and grow in. I think there's a lot of really good stuff here, and so let's look at it. Matthew chapter 7, verse 1. Do not judge, or you too will be judged, for in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when all the time there's a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite. First take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. Do not give dogs what is sacred. Do not throw your pearls to pigs. If you do, they will trample them under their feet and tear you to pieces. And so Jesus is talking about the idea of judgment. And a lot of people have issues with judgment. I have issues with judgment. None of us like to be judged. But the problem is it's really easy to judge other people. It's really easy to see what's wrong with other people. And Jesus is saying, before you worry about what you see wrong in other people, even if it's obvious, deal with your issues. Make sure that you are self-examining, that you're saying, I am open to your judgment, God, to look into my life and to see what's there and what should be there and what shouldn't be there. Jesus is not saying don't ever try to help your friend or don't deal with issues in other people's lives, but he is saying there's a way about you should go about it. And so I would encourage you as we live this out, just really being thoughtful about where you are, who you are, what's going on in your own life before you get concerned. And think about it. Is it really easy to see the evil or see things that are wrong in others before you see it in yourself? And then he says, don't throw your pearls before swine, which is interesting because both the pearl and the swine would be unclean. The oyster and the pig were things that God told them were unclean in the Old Testament. And so Jesus is using a really interesting analogy here. And he's speaking to a Jewish crowd, which would have understood this was as a Gentile, kind of a feel to it. And he's saying, look, be very careful who you share truth with. Because sometimes if you're in the wrong place with the wrong group of people and you try to convince them or you try to speak the words of truth, you can be trampled over. And you need to be careful not to throw things that God gives you, things that are holy and pure, to people that aren't ready for that, or not interested in that, or actually hate that. And because we have sin in us, because there's sin in the world, there are people that hate things that are good. They hate anything that is pure and holy. And so do not throw your pearls before pigs is something to think about in our lives and to be wise and discerning in who we talk to and how we talk to them. Verse 7, ask and it will be given to you, seek and you will find, knock and the door will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, the one who seeks finds, and the one who knocks the door will be open. Which of you, if your sons ask for bread, will give him a stone, or if he asks for a fish, will give him a snake? If you then, though you are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good gifts to those who ask him? So in everything, do unto others what you'd have them do unto you, for this sums up the law and the prophets. And so Jesus is saying a powerful thing. He's saying he is there, wisdom is there, God is there all the time. And if you seek him, if you knock on his door, if you pursue him, you will find him. And when you find him and you ask for something, he's not going to give you something horrible. He's going to give you the very best. God always gives the very best. Now, we might not recognize it as the very best. We might not perceive it as the very best. But he always gives the very best. And he says, if you know how to give good gifts to your friends, to your family, to your kids, how much more does your Heavenly Father know how to give you what you really need, what you may not even know you really need? And so he goes on to say, the best way to live this out in life is to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So as you think about how would I want someone to talk to me, I know there's a lot of issues, a lot of drama in relationships. There's a lot of challenges in our deepest, closest relationships. And I think one of the best ways to deal with that, one of the best ways to resolve a lot of the issues in your life is just think, How would I want someone to talk to me? How would I want someone to pursue me? How would I want someone to deal with that? How would I want someone to deal with that with me? And then deal with the person in that way. Do to others, talk to others, treat others the way you want to be treated. It's an amazing principle that if we all, imagine if the whole world did that, what it would be like. So Jesus is giving us a powerful tool to live out our lives. Verse 13, enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow is the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. And so this is a kind of an overwhelming verse. It can be very scary. It can be challenging to understand that Jesus is basically saying most people are going to go their own way. And it's a very broad path and it leads to destruction. Few are going to focus on me, the narrow gate and the narrow way, and they're going to find life. And I think the important thing to recognize as we read this and study this and try to internalize this is the idea that we're all moving towards something. We can't slow it down. We can't change it. Every day is another day closer to the end of this life. And there's another life awaiting us. And Jesus is saying that there's a broad path that many people are on that's leading to a horrible next life. But there's a narrow path that if you find it and you focus on it, leads to life. And that's a powerful thing for us to internalize and think about and to live out. Verse 15, watch out for false prophets. They come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ferocious wolves. By their fruit you will recognize them. Do people pick grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Likewise, every good tree bears good fruit, but bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, and a bad tree cannot bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Thus, by their fruit you will recognize them. And the fruit he's talking about is love and joy and peace. In Galatians, we're told that all these fruit are there. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, self-control. All of these things are to be demonstrated. So if you see someone who says they know Jesus, but yet they have no kindness and no joy and no peace and no hope, that's the fruit. The fruit is more important than the knowledge. Someone can know a lot, but it doesn't mean the fruit of God are in them. And it's a relationship that he's looking for. And he goes into this next part. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. Many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, did not we prophesy in your name and drive out demons in your name, perform many miracles? Then I will tell them plainly, I never knew you. Away from me, you evildoers. And so we're told first that Jesus is the judge. He's going to judge you. Remember, he said, don't worry about someone else's sin. If you've got a plank in your own eye, deal with that first. But he's going to judge you. And he's saying that there will be people that prophesy, cast out demons, do all these amazing things in his name, but they never knew him. They never had a personal relationship with him. That is the key here. That is the most important thing for us to understand. Jesus came that we may know him and he may know us, and we will live in that truth every day. Our focus is on him, his Holy Spirit living in us and guiding us, and that we have this personal, deep relationship with him. Verse 24, therefore everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against the house. Yet it did not fall, because it had a foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against the house, and it fell with a great crash. When Jesus finished saying these things, the crowds were amazed at his teaching, because he had taught as one who had authority and not as their teachers of the law. And so Jesus wraps it up and he says, you can build your house on me as the rock, and you will be sturdy and strong, and that rock has been here and will always be here. Or you can build your own house wherever you want on the sand, and there will be a storm that will come and it will knock it over, and it'll be a horrible fall. That's the question, the focus, the intent of our lives. Where are we focused? Where are you focused today? What is important to you? What matters to you? Where are you focused? Is Christ number one in your life? Is Jesus the reason you do what you do? Are there other things? And so that's the real test for today and every day, is will you follow Christ? And so my prayer is that you will. I hope you're encouraged. I will go back and read through this and really try to internalize it and see what God has for you as he speaks clearly to us as we read his word and we live for him each day. Well, I hope this was beneficial, and I hope that you have new things that God does in your life to show you new things. And I look forward to talking to you again. God bless.